Thank you very much. Ms. Bricker, thank you so much for being here. I have asked a lot of tough questions in other hearings to PBMs, and I still have lots of questions. But one of the things I noted in Mr. Eberly's testimony was he said that, one of the problems that all of us could make is if we start making decisions on that are based on partial information. And when folks don't show up, even if we're going to ask tough questions and maybe have a disagreement, if they don't show up and give us that information, then we are making decisions based on partial information, and we'll make even more mistakes than we might otherwise make as human beings. And so we're just trying to get the info, and I do appreciate you being here. I know some of the colleagues of yours chose not to be here today, and I regret that for them, but very pleased that you are here. So thank you for doing that, because we need full information. Mr. Eberly, I like your model from what I can tell, and it's not going to solve all the problems in the chain. But I would like for you to talk about that some, because one of the concerns that I would have is you actually said in your written testimony that one of the values of PBMs, and you laid out some things that PBMs do that are valuable and that we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, more or less. One of the things you said was that that PBMs act as a counterbalance to the massive market power of drug manufacturers and pharmacy chains. So what if the pharmacy chain and the PBM are owned by the same people?
Well, I don't know that I can comment on that specifically. We don't have that situation for the organization we work for. How we do that, our negotiations with pharmacies and with manufacturers, is with pharmacies in particular, we're looking at gathering access discounts. Does the client want a broad or limited network? Doing the geo access requirements so that we can make sure there is a pharmacy available, so we never have a network where there isn't a pharmacy within range. And we have that as then a competitive negotiation with the pharmacies to determine our network.
Now, I do have to ask, because I represent a very large rural district, what's within range?
So there's a number of standards, both state Medicaid and CMS developed geo-access standards that we apply both to those federal programs, but also to any state or our commercial books of business. So they set standards based on rural, urban, and suburban area, how many pharmacies within specific ranges of that, and that sets the geo-access standard.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I like the concept of charging a certain fee, because one of the things that I pushed on in another hearing that we had on this issue, because this is a bipartisan concern, the drug pricing across the board, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it. One of the things I pushed on was it looks like that the cost of the drug in many of the other cases, in the spread model that you mentioned in your testimony, the price of the drug can push the amount of money that the PBM receives for processing that drug. And you indicated that could create a conflict of interest for the PBM, because if they then encourage the manufacturer to increase the price of the drug, even if they rebate it back down to the same price that it would have been before they increased the increase or asked for the increase, they're still receiving, even if it's only 1 or 2%, they're then receiving a larger amount of money for processing, and that fee ultimately gets passed on to the consumer. Is that pretty much what I understood you to say?
Very similar, yes. That we wanted to take any incentive out either from the rebate spread or from the pharmacy network spread, and really just have our clients know exactly what we're charging for that service. So that's how we approach it.
And so the folks back home understand, when you're talking about clients, you're not talking about the person who goes to the drugstore to buy the drug. You're talking about the insurance companies and other plans. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, we represent anyone that provides pharmacy benefits. So that could be a health plan, it could be a state and local municipality, it could be just a large or small employer, but any provider of pharmacy benefits.
And I believe you indicated, I think to Ms. Eshu earlier, that if you pass that on to those folks, those people who have the pharmacy benefits, the insurance company, et cetera, then it's between them and their consumers as to whether or not they pass that on to the individual patient. Isn't that correct?
Correct. They can make the decision as to whether within their plan design, if they offer a point of sale rebate as part of that plan design, do they use those dollars just to offset their overall pharmacy cost and share that either through lower premiums or lower copays and coinsurances.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why we need to have transparency, and you also advocated transparency. But that's one of the reasons we need to have transparency across the entire drug supply chain, because it's, you know, the manufacturers have a role, the PBMs have a role, the insurance companies have a role, and the pharmacies have a role. Isn't that correct?
Correct, absolutely.
I appreciate it, and I yield back. Thank you very much.